The announcement nobody believed. August 6, 2003. Arnold Schwarzenegger walked onto the set of The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, ostensibly to promote Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. His publicist had planted stories suggesting he'd de-announce his decision, not to run for California governor during a recall election. Hollywood expected a laugh line, a publicity stunt. Arnold the showman doing what Arnold did best, generating headlines while keeping his comfortable movie star life intact. Instead, he detonated a political bomb. "The man that is failing the people more than anyone is Gray Davis," Arnold said, his tone deadly serious. "He is failing them terribly, and this is why he needs to be recalled. And this is why I am going to run for governor." The studio audience gasped. Leno's smile froze. Political operatives watching from Sacramento felt their stomachs drop. The Austrian action star, the man famous for blowing up things on screen, not negotiating billion-dollar budgets, had just entered California's most chaotic political moment in modern history. Every political professional in both parties had the same immediate reaction. This is a disaster for Arnold, for California, for everyone. They had no idea what was coming. The establishment's rage. Within hours, the California political machine mobilized to destroy Arnold Schwarzenegger's candidacy before it could gain traction. Democratic operatives immediately framed him as an unqualified celebrity, dilettante or rich Hollywood pretty boy playing politician while real people suffered. Republican establishment figures, threatened by an outsider who'd never paid party dues, leaked opposition research to friendly media outlets. "He's never held office," one Democratic strategist told the Los Angeles Times. "He's never run anything except a movie set." California's economy is $1.6 trillion larger than most countries. And this guy thinks his qualification is that he played a robot? Gray Davis, the embattled incumbent governor facing recall, tried dismissing Arnold as a sideshow. But his internal polling told a different story. Arnold was instantly the race's most recognizable candidate, with name recognition approaching 100% and favorability numbers that terrified professional politicians. The political class expected Arnold to crumble under scrutiny. Instead, they discovered something unsettling. He'd been preparing for this moment for over a decade. The secret preparation, what California's political establishment didn't know. Arnold had been studying government with the same obsessive focus he'd brought to bodybuilding and Hollywood. Throughout the 1990s, while still making action blockbusters, Arnold had quietly attended think tank seminars, befriended policy experts, and funded research into education reform, environmental policy, and fiscal management. He'd appointed himself to the President's Council on Physical Fitness under George H.W. Bush, learning how government bureaucracy functioned from the inside. He'd also cultivated relationships with political strategists from both parties, picking their brains about campaign mechanics, voter psychology, and message discipline. When Democrats assumed he was just another Republican, Arnold corrected them. He was a fiscal conservative and social moderate, a positioning that could win in liberal California. But his real advantage was psychological warfare expertise, perfected over decades of competitive bodybuilding and Hollywood negotiations. Pete Wilson, former California governor and Arnold's early political mentor, later admitted, everyone underestimated him because of the accent and the action movies. They thought he was just a personality. They didn't realize he was a strategic thinker who'd been planning this for years. The political establishment was about to learn what gym rivals and studio executives had discovered the hard way. Underestimating Arnold Schwarzenegger was a fatal mistake. The media assassination attempt, October 2003. Days before the recall election, the Los Angeles Times published a bombshell. Multiple women accused Arnold of groping, sexual harassment, and inappropriate behavior spanning decades. The timing was surgical. Maximum damage, minimum time for response. Political death delivered through orchestrated media coverage. Arnold's campaign went into emergency mode. Advisors split. Some wanted aggressive denial and counterattacks. Others suggested withdrawing to protect his family and legacy. Arnold chose a third path, one that political consultants considered political suicide. He held a press conference and admitted wrongdoing without details, apologizing generally while not confirming specific allegations. "Where there's smoke, there's fire," he said. "I have behaved badly sometimes. I have done things that were not right. And I take responsibility." Then he pivoted immediately back to California's problems: budget deficits, education crisis, energy shortages. "Judge me on whether I can fix California's problems, not on whether I've been perfect." Political professionals were stunned. The strategy was theoretically insane. You never admit wrongdoing in politics, never give opponents ammunition. But Arnold's poll numbers barely moved. Why? Because voters already knew Arnold wasn't traditional. His flaws were priced in. What they wanted to know was whether he could solve problems the political class couldn't. The apology made him seem human rather than destroying him. The establishment had tried to deploy their most powerful weapon, scandal. It had bounced off like bullets hitting titanium. Election night. The impossible victory, October 7, 2003. As returns came in, political experts kept waiting for the collapse that never materialized. Arnold won with 48.6% of the vote in a crowded field, becoming California's 38th governor. He'd beaten established politicians, career bureaucrats, and the entire Democratic machine. A Republican had won in one of America's bluest states. But the victory celebration was brief. The real war began the next day. When Arnold walked into the governor's office in Sacramento, he discovered California was even worse than campaign rhetoric suggested. The state faced a $38 billion budget deficit. Energy infrastructure was crumbling. Education funding had collapsed. Special interests controlled virtually every aspect of state government. Worse, the legislature, dominated by Democrats, had zero interest in cooperating with Governor Schwarzenegger. They saw him as a temporary aberration, a celebrity who'd quickly be overwhelmed by the complexity of actual governance. Their strategy: obstruct everything, wait for Arnold to fail, then reclaim power with a real politician. Arnold's response was characteristically blunt. "If they don't want to play, I'll go directly to the voters." The special election disaster. Arnold attempted to go over the legislature's head with a special election featuring ballot initiatives on budget reform, teacher tenure, and union power. It was a catastrophic miscalculation. Public employee unions spent $100 million fighting Arnold's propositions. Teachers' unions mobilized members. Attack ads painted Arnold as an out-of-touch millionaire, attacking working people. His approval ratings collapsed from 65% to 36%. Every proposition failed. Arnold's political capital evaporated. The political establishment celebrated. The action star had finally revealed himself as an amateur playing in the professional leagues. Sacramento insiders predicted he'd serve out his term as a neutered lame duck, then disappear back to Hollywood. They were wrong, again. The transformation Arnold did something politicians almost never do. He admitted failure and changed strategy entirely. He fired his confrontational political team. He brought in moderate advisors. Most importantly, he started actually negotiating with the Democratic legislature instead of trying to overpower them. "I learned that governing isn't like bodybuilding or movies," Arnold said in an interview. "You can't just force outcomes through willpower. You have to build coalitions, make compromises, find common ground." It was a stunning evolution. The man famous for saying, I'll be back, started saying, "Let's work together." He focused on achievable wins rather than ideological purity. Infrastructure investment that both parties supported. Environmental legislation that made California a climate change leader. Healthcare reforms that expanded coverage without alienating business interests. His approval ratings recovered. Democrats who dismissed him as a buffoon started describing him as a pragmatic partner. Republicans who'd expected ideological warfare felt betrayed but couldn't deny the legislative successes. Arnold had done something remarkable, evolved from celebrity outsider to functional governor through sheer adaptability. The budget crisis. The financial crisis hit California like a tsunami. The budget deficit exploded to unprecedented levels. State employees faced furloughs. Schools faced devastating cuts. Infrastructure projects froze. Arnold faced the defining test of his governorship. How he handled this crisis would determine his legacy, celebrity failure, or legitimate leader. He negotiated a brutal budget package with the legislature, tax increases that infuriated Republicans, spending cuts that enraged Democrats, painful compromises that satisfied nobody but prevented California from complete fiscal collapse. The political fallout was severe. His approval ratings dropped again. Conservative Republicans attacked him as a Reno, Republican in name only. Liberal Democrats claimed he'd gutted social services. Talk radio hosts from both sides pilloried him daily. But California survived. Other states faced actual bankruptcy. California maintained basic functionality through the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. Arnold's response to critics: leadership isn't about being popular. It's about making hard decisions that keep the ship afloat. The secret scandal throughout his governorship. Arnold harbored a secret that would detonate his personal life. He defathered a child with the family's housekeeper while married to Maria Shriver. For years, he'd maintained the deception, living a double life that would have destroyed most politicians if exposed during their time in office. The truth remained hidden through his entire gubernatorial tenure. But the weight of that secret affected every decision, every relationship, every moment of his political career. Later, after leaving office, when the revelation became public, the question haunted Arnold's legacy. How much of his political evolution, the transformation from confrontational outsider to collaborative pragmatist, was authentic growth versus strategic necessity to protect a devastating secret? Even those closest to him couldn't say for certain. The final term. By his second term, Arnold had become something unexpected, a respected, bipartisan leader who'd evolved beyond celebrity governance. He signed the Global Warming Solutions Act, making California a world leader in climate policy. He pushed through infrastructure investment that Republicans and Democrats both supported. He reformed workers' compensation, saving billions while maintaining protections. Political scientists who predicted disaster started writing papers about the Schwarzenegger model, how celebrity politicians could transition to substantive governance through adaptability and strategic coalition building. But Arnold never fully shed the contradictions. He'd vetoed same-sex marriage bills despite personal support for LGBTQ rights, saying it should be decided by voters or courts. He'd maintained friendly relationships with both parties while fully satisfying neither. He'd been pragmatic to the point where ideology seemed irrelevant. Was this visionary post-partisan leadership? Or simply a celebrity politician without core principles, willing to shift positions based on political convenience? Even Arnold seemed uncertain. In interviews, he oscillated between defending his record and expressing regrets about compromises made. The legacy debate, January 2011. Arnold left office with approval ratings in the low 20s, unpopular with conservatives who felt betrayed, distrusted by liberals who'd never fully accepted him, resented by a public exhausted by years of budget crises. But a strange thing happened over the following decade. As historians analyzed his tenure, the verdict shifted. The infrastructure investments he'd fought for bore fruit. California's climate policies became national models. The fiscal discipline he'd enforced prevented the complete collapse that other states experienced. Political scholars noted something remarkable. During an era of hyper-partisanship, Arnold Schwarzenegger had shown that Republicans could win in blue states by abandoning rigid ideology for pragmatic problem-solving. But the personal scandals, the affair, the secret child, the family implosion, permanently stained his political legacy. How could voters trust a man who deceived his own wife for over a decade? Arnold's response, years later, was characteristically direct. I was a successful governor and a terrible husband. Both things are true. I don't ask for a pass on one because of the other. The real Arnold. Looking back at Arnold's political career, the most striking element isn't the celebrity to politician transition. It's the complexity beneath the simple narrative. He was never just the action star playing governor. He'd prepared obsessively, studied intensely, and brought genuine strategic intelligence to the role. But he was also never the transformational leader his supporters hoped for. He was pragmatic, transactional, willing to compromise principles for achievable wins. The real Arnold Schwarzenegger, in politics as in life, was neither the hero nor the villain. He was something more complicated, a deeply flawed, genuinely talented individual who applied relentless ambition to an impossible job and achieved more than expected while failing in ways nobody predicted. His political opponents who dismissed him as a celebrity joke were wrong. His supporters who'd expected revolutionary leadership were also wrong. Arnold's governorship proved one unsettling truth about American politics. Sometimes the outsider everyone underestimates can outperform the professionals. And sometimes that same outsider's personal demons can undermine everything they build professionally. The man who'd played the Terminator on screen became something more complex in Sacramento, terminally human. Whether that makes him a political success or failure depends on who's judging and what they value more, policy achievement or personal integrity. Arnold himself seems to have made peace with the ambiguity. When asked about his political legacy, he simply says, "I did my best with what I had. Some days that was enough. Some days it wasn't. That's life." For a man who'd spent his entire life projecting invincibility, that admission might be the most honest thing he ever said.